they will be out of the running for playoffs. So let's just jump straight into the draft, I guess.
And we are already neck deep into it. We're going to see a heavy reliance right back to those heavy farming, heavy clearing AP junglers, but might begin some fisticuffs in bot lane here as the double marksman comp has come alive for Ultra Prime, but it's the Draven in the bot lane for Doggo.
So Draven for Doggo. Senna would be an incredibly passive lane to take into that Draven. Could be a little bit of a struggle during the laning phase. But overall, fairly standard confidence picks. Hacker gets his Karthus, which definitely has been a bit of a signature for him across the course of the split. I feel like Karthus in general has fallen out of favor in the LPL, but Hacker still likes to grab that one for himself.
Yeah.
The Ezreal, I can't believe, is this late in the draft.
We did get 6 ADC bans in the end, or I guess bot lane bans in the end from both teams across all the bans itself. But yeah, the fact that you're this late in, you've gotten the blind pick Renekton that is so feared right now. You've gotten this heavy damage focused brand. You also have the double poke composition and a lot of that lead in CC. The only real engage ticket for EDG will be Wink, but they will be very happy with the composition they've gotten for themselves. And now looking at that double-edged sword that apparently remains a constant here today, that Ultra Prime have drafted in game number 1. They're going to need to be playing around this bot side.
So a lot of power for Doggo and Niket. Hacker on an absolute carry as well. I feel like Ultra Prime have got a pretty easy to execute composition over there. EDG, kind of similar, honestly. A little bit more range perhaps coming out from them. But both junglers, sort of a similar MO when it comes to the team fights. We've got damage dealers in the right places. We've got frontline and engage in the right places. Feels like a relatively even draft to me.
Yeah, I will say I do like the brand a little bit more in terms of the proactive style that you can be, a little bit more invasive into the Karthus jungle, and I think especially for the likes of Jiejie, it's going to be really nice to see him try to pick apart some of the...
Of making it to playoffs, a loss tonight would be the end of their run. EDG have already ended their run, and they want to do the same to Ultra Prime. It's time for them to try and play spoiler.
No matter what, EDG will always have a massive fan base for what they've done for the LPL, but also the track record they have. Now, very different faces on the team. Jiejie, the only standing member here with the star on his chest, carving that one himself, but it is also a situation where it's been very topsy-turvy for this EDG roster. But the thing is like, they still find themselves in a position where they have found some key wins in this Rumble stage.
Certainly have. Doggo even gets 2 stacks, in fact 3 stacks, to start the laning phase. My goodness, what a huge win for Ultra Prime.
It's over. Might as well pack up and go home.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can ever come back from this one. Ultra Prime, though, yeah, nice little ward onto the Raptors there, so Jiejie will be spotted on his clear. Hacker, no vision in his jungle, so he'll have a much safer clear for himself and less information to play with at the side of EDG. Aggressive trades early on, and we're consistently seeing these Ezreal lanes beating out the Draven lanes today at level 1. Oh,
they'll just get as much poke as possible down early and try to get that level 2. Do want to see how quickly Hacker can come down this way, maybe with that path he's taking from top to bot. As on the other side, Jiejie going from bot to top. Now, Jiejie is known to be maybe a little bit cerebral in the jungle and find maybe some unique paths. Something to maybe keep an eye out after the first pathing gets cleared out by them, because you need to try to get ahead of this Karthus in all regards.
I feel like that's a pretty good conversation to have in general, as well as heavy trading in the mid lane. Not going to lead to too much, as we are back to Corki versus Tristana back there. But, you know, topics of pathing, I feel like pathing in general in the LPL and across the world, really, especially in early levels, has been kind of just full clear. That's sort of your only option when you're playing these AP jungles. Oh no! Oh god! Solokill just gets wrecked.
Got a little bit of his own name thrown at him there. QingTian, the rock solid top laner, at least once was. for top esports. But now, you come out with that. K'Sante onto the Renekton matchup. This is a blind pick that we've seen time and time again in the LPL.
And the thing is, both of these players have been pretty heavily criticized this split. I feel like QingTian has had some really big games. He's had some really terrible games as well. Solokill, more of the latter than the former. So jumps into a Q, gets the stun, but then just gets punted back on the Q3, stunned. I mean, it's too easy for QingTian.
I'm just wondering, like, was he trying to use the rage bar for the heal on the Q?
I think he just didn't realize QingTian was about to hit 3. I think that's what happened.
Maybe that, but look at this.
Leave gets under the tower here, and Niket's tanking, forced to flash away. Leave low, but Hacker might
Doggo
go down to the
needs it.
tower here. Leave is looking for a second.
Oh,
Doggo
no.
as well. The tower hits onto Doggo, but he survives. The cash-in is there. Minions denied. I think it's maybe a win for Ultra Prime.
The fact that you have to say it like that maybe tells us all we need to know. We knew this was going to be a chaotic start to this one, and this best of 3 deliver it already. Do see Doggo getting a ton of strength thrown his way. Everything culminated in that bot lane play, but the fact that Doggo on the Draven gets a little cash in is huge. We take a look here. All summoner spells going to be burned in the end here by both bot lanes, and it's actually a really good chance for EDG to try to get an outplay here. The damage succinctly going through for Doggo, though, and Hacker willing to give his life for that one.
Nice movement from Leave to dodge a lot of the skittles coming out from Hacker, and flashed away from the stand aside from Doggo as well. I feel like in these moments where there is opportunity for mechanical outplay, Leave, that's where this player actually shines. Like, his mechanics are good. It's a lot of the decision making and like more big picture positioning that leaves something to be desired.
Leave.
But I mean, ultimately, even though Hacker dies, we're early enough in the game where it's basically an instant respawn. He didn't have any camps up, so he doesn't really lose anything in terms of timing. He gets the assist. The kill went the way of Wink. Doggo gets a cash in early, so he's 300 gold ahead in the bot lane. Plus for the kill top for QingTian. Like, overall, that's a pretty big win for Ultra Prime, because it just means both side lanes are now under control.
And this enables them to go ahead and get this dragon, get some early stacking going. We are going to be getting to level 6s now, so I think that's something to kind of keep an eye out on. Jiejie especially going to be a little bit more happy to take some of these fights. But now that you've taken this is like one of the first times we've seen recently a dragon going down before the grubs have spawned. Ultra Prime can move this pressure up towards this grub spawn, and they will have man advantage because they brought everybody.
They sure did. Hacker moves over, but he's already pretty chunked. Jiejie's in the area, but neither jungler level 6. And Brand without level 6, it's going to be difficult to move in and have any significant impact. So Ultra Prime off of the back of the dive in the bottom side, and off of the back of the presence of QingTian in the top side, finding that solo kill. They'll grab themselves not only the first straight, but triple grubs as well. This is a phenomenal start for Ultra Prime.
I feel like I haven't seen this kind of trade going down in a while. I mean, they just walked their way to both objectives, and now they're going to keep Niket and Doggo on top side, maybe try to get some plates up here with no big response. Right now, Leave and Wink are finally responding, but they're going to actually move Leave back down as the backs can come through, so they're not going to collapse for the turret plate, but really good move around the map of Ultra Prime and redeploying their lane states.
Yeah, you can see EDG have read it as well. Immediately, Leave change directions and heads towards that bottom lane. But I think Doggo might just go to the mid lane instead. I think QingTian maybe just stays here. So Leave got the one plate while the grubs were going on. Returns to this bottom lane. Will grab the pretty sizable wave there. And now Doggo actually returns up to the top side. It feels like Ultra Prime maybe weren't exactly sure where they wanted to go on this one. But they've decided to just avoid the 2v2 for now, I guess.
Might pay dividends, might not. I mean, Leave will be scary. We've seen Ezreal highlighted for a reason here recently and just gives so much consistent damage. And EDG will have a lot of strength going into the objectives. And when you're in those tight positions, yeah, you'll love that Hacker can die and still get down a ton of damage, but you have to be very wary about the AoE damage, the poke that'll be coming through from EDG.
I'm really curious as to what has been happening in this mid lane, because it's like a 20 CS lead for Cryin. Like, let's be honest, Cryin has not exactly been a dominant laner across the course of this split. A little surprised to see that be such a big lead for him. in the mid lane. Yuekai really struggling on this Tristana so far. QingTian zoned away from the wave on the bottom side, and it opens up for Leaf to start stacking some of these plates up. As now an attempted dive on Solokill, tries to get onto Doggo.
He got the wave.
Clears the wave away, yeah. And he'll be okay.
Just as the plan was unfolded, unfortunately, nothing coming of it. Now, it is EDG that are getting a little bit back for it on the map, and this is really awesome to see from EDG, even though Solokill feel a little bit of the brunt of the ire there in the top side. Oh!
So QingTian locked up now with the Pyroclasm there as well. He's just going to burn up. Tried to get underneath the tower, but didn't realize he was being fully lane swapped. It's back to lane swap meta, right? It feels like that with the top laners where you just cannot ever get a minion again. Both of the top laners on 50 CS as we approach the 9-minute mark. It's a bit brutal. As Doggo was starting, it felt like he was going to lose his entire lead off of the back of these swaps. Leaf has built a bit of a CS lead, but Doggo getting these plates in the top side has managed to even things up again.
That's actually really big, and it stemmed from the draft where we were saying we wanted to see Ultra Prime kind of play towards the spot side. In the later parts of the game, 2-3 items, especially 3 items for Yuekai and Tristana, you're gonna have that consistent damage, but it'd be really nice if Doggo were able to be ahead consistently and have that strength to play through until you get to that point. Hacker as well. I mean, you're scaling up to infinitum right now for Ultra Prime in some ways, and I think you're just gonna need to find a way to keep these objectives under tow.
They've got to try their best. QingTian moves up to stop Leaf pushing, but with Leaf on the top side, I mean, this is just going to be 2 Drakes for Ultra Prime, right? Leaf can't TP. QingTian doesn't have his online either, but Cryin gets away from Yuekai. Death charge.
No rocket jump.
A bit of a weird engage from EDG. Finds a hook though. Denied by Niket, and I mean, they've managed to find a lot of damage of EDG. They lost a player for it. Fancy feet there from Yuekai to dodge the True Shot Barrage. It's just in time for EDG to find themselves some grubs.
I will give them the benefit of the doubt in the fact that they were trying to punish Yuekai where he didn't have the rocket jump and he used it so aggressively forward. But yeah, just best laid plans once again. They do end up getting that denial, so at least there won't be the grub again, but this also gives Ultra Prime a little bit more presence around the objective down here for the Dragon. Yeah,
this will be a Drake for Ultra Prime. Yeah, I think this is fine from EDG. I think realistically they weren't going to be able to contest for that next Drake, so being able to go for the grubs instead. Cryin balks away. He's played
Never
very
seen a Corki
safe
move
so
that
far.
fast.
I don't know, when your bum's wiggling like that, it gives you a little bit of extra air force behind you. Hacker grabs himself that second Drake. Dominus comes out from Solokill, clearly afraid of a dive. Not sure there was much of a dive angle there, to be honest, but QingTian now looking for Cryin as Wink moves up to the top side. QingTian will just walk away. I feel like both teams are like really trying to find fights, but not really quite able to find them.
And, I mean, I'm not going to lie, maybe kind of what we expect from these two teams. Again, Ultra Prime is barely fighting for their lives in this year, holistically. And it's something where EDG, I mean, it's been a very hard road for a lot of these players.
I mean, look at this from Doggo. Just getting plates basically for free, trying to trade onto Cryin in the top side, but the Whirling Death gets the cannon and gets all the casters as well. So only 2 plates up top for Cryin. We'll one-shot that next minion wave, but Doggo escalating in that bottom side, and it's interesting to see Leaf sent to the mid lane, and it's Cryin up top trading plates here. It's not AD carry for AD carry, as well as sort of is, but not in terms of that role directly. Leaf is just clearing in the mid lane.
They were trying to get a catch out on QingTian. He is unfortunately Cassante, as we've seen that come up. Cassante sided every time. Copy pasta exists for a reason. Do you see, though, Hacker is actually the one taking the more aggressive stance. He is the one trying to invade here. There is a play potentially developing back on a solo kill. They really want to get these outer turrets down. Ends up, though, it looks like EDG going to be the ones to try to take that one first.
I don't know if QingTian can maybe defend this. The grubs might finish the job. Not quite. Cryin could just tank a shot, I think, with grubs and maybe finish it.
Juicy tennis ball.
He wants to stay for another wave, but Yuekai's here. I don't think he can finish the tower. And everyone's reset at the bottom side as well. I don't think
Nobody
either of
gets
the
the
towers are going to
tower.
go down.
Oh my goodness, both teams playing with a little bit of respect here as well. Jiejie is hovering up this top side, and Rift Herald's going to be coming up about 45 seconds, so I think EDG wanting to put as much pressure up here as they can. Maybe get a little bit of vision there as well, just to make sure Ultra Prime can't reposition around that so easily. And I think that's where, I really want to see that proactivity come through for EDG a little bit more, because as Hacker rests on his haunches, as he continues to farm up, that 5-man Requiem is going to be really difficult to deal with. We are on first items now for majority members too.
So, Cryin finally gets that tower down. And that's the first tower of the game. EDG grabbing that one for themselves. Cryin having a really good laning phase, something that he was massively criticized for across this split, and I think rightly so as well. Him and Wink joining EDG, it felt like they kind of changed the fortunes of this team for a while there. But I feel like it was mostly Wink, with Cryin really struggling in the laning phase. However, today we're seeing Cryin stepping up a little bit. Solokill gets onto the wave.
Yeah,
Just gonna try and dive anyway, but it's not gonna happen. Solokill doing a good job of just clearing the waves underneath this tower, not letting these dives come through.
And I love they bring up Cryin a little bit. Obviously, a pretty well-known name in LPL, but also if you think back to a couple years ago, he was actually a core piece of that 2022 Ultra Pride roster itself. So kind of cool to see him having a really good start to the series here, even if it harkens back to a couple years back in the relationship. But it is also a point where Ultra Prime have so much more to play for, so much more on the line for them in this one, that EDG are just reaping the benefits of the pressure.
It's kind of funny to think about Cryin being on Ultra Prime. It's kind of just a blip in my memory because, you know, you think of him on RNG, obviously, like that was a huge time back when Xiaohu was up in the top lane. But then... even more on IG.
Yeah,
exactly. You think of him on IG alongside Wing, alongside Arn, like this really aggressive, crazy IG team with YSKM there. Like, but, you know, Ultra Prime is just sort of a bit of a gap in my memory for this player. But either way, he certainly stepped up today. And he's looking to get himself a second tower. That's a lot of gold that's just being funneled into this Corki. Cryin could be a real problem for Ultra Prime. Remember, Ultra Prime, they desperately need to win this series. EDG are already out of contention for playoffs. For Ultra Prime, though, this ain't over.
Need to win this one out, and need to do so cleanly if they can. There is going to be the dragon spawning up. Rift Herald used in the mid lane, though, by Jiejie, so they'll try to get this out of turret and move to that objective here.
All right. Tier 1 down. Got the 3 grubs, but it was 2 drakes for Ultra Prime to start us off, and now with the 3rd drake spawning, EDG used the Herald to get that mid prio and move towards the drake to start that one off. You can see up in the top side, Yuekai is going to grab the tier 1. So we've traded
tier 2
in terms of towers, but EDG still have their tier 1 up in the mid lane, which is just so valuable in terms of controlling the map. And once again, EDG step up, clear this wave, and move back towards the drake.
TP plays are still up and available. Won't see that necessarily pulled off just yet. Solokill did go to answer over in that split lane push by Yuekai. EDG in the end, though, they're going to get that dragon. So denying that early stacking by Ultra Prime. But again, the fact that Ultra Prime got the first 2 dragons in the first place is good enough for them, as they bought themselves that 10 minutes of time just in case it matters. And it's going to be, again, that 2-3 item spike for this Ultra Prime roster where they start to come online. A lot can be said for EDG. I mean, we know what the Miramana spike can do for both the Corki and the Ezreal. And speaking of the at least first component completed there for EDG, and I think it is a situation where both teams have been kind of fine watching each other play the game, and a lot of, like, it's 17 minutes in, we've had 5 kills as a whole.
Yeah, they're sort of chilling. I kind of expected this to be a little bit more aggressive from both sides, but it feels like, you know, the side lane plays that we've seen, where Solokill's trying to clear these waves underneath the tower, and they were trying to set up Cryin to take plates and take towers. I feel like it's all been both teams focusing on their weak side not dying and not really like committing to fully weak siding and trying to really dive the other side. Fairly neutral in the grand scheme, but it's led to a 1,000 gold lead for EDG. It's led to them grabbing that Herald and taking the mid-tier 1 off the back of it. It does feel like EDG are the ones in control, and using that lack of mid-tier 1 tower, they can set up some more vision control. Solokill found by Yuekai. Blade of the Rune King in his inventory,
Don't do it.
Won't commit further. Dominus used in the brush by Solokill, but Yuekai reads it.
Yeah, 2-item spike there with the Navori for Yuekai. Very strong. I love to see the start of the Blade of the Rune King that we've seen, and also just the uptick in aggression we get as soon as they complete the items. Obviously, a bit a little bit here, but I also want to check in on poor Doggo down there. He's got a lot of stacks building here, Munchables. They're going to need to cash in at some point. I think that is the saving grace for EDG, is they have a very much more stable trajectory that we've seen play out time and time again in the meta with the Ezreal Corki, where it's maybe a little bit more rocky for Doggo on the Draven.
I feel like Draven stacks they're sort of like, you know those people where they've got the sticks and they start spinning plates on different sticks, and it's like, the more stacks you get, the more plates you're trying to spin, and the more dangerous it starts to become, because the second one starts going wrong, it all goes wrong. The second you die one time now for Doggo, it just feels like your champion is so gutted. It feels like Draven, without a big lead, just doesn't really influence the game in the way that you want him to. Now Ultra Prime TPing up to the top side. Both solo laners here to try and get onto this tower. Cryin flashes away from Niket's engage. EDG kind of getting the best of this situation. Solokill defends the tower, doesn't die. Ultra Prime can't do anything mid. EDG just deter all of the pressure on the top side.
And they're going to be able to fill out some of this vision here as well. The backs, obviously quickly going to come through from Ultra Prime to get the resets there, so nothing else really going to come of that side of the play. But I do like that Solokill is able to defend against a lot of the side lane pressure that Ultra Prime have been trying to put in. I still, though, want to see what this next big 5-on-5 is going to look like. I feel like we haven't gotten the big fisticuffs moment yet, and I particularly want to see Jiejie's Pyroclasm timing here, because we all know what the Requiem can do, but it's much more skill intensive for Jiejie to get his damage down, and also maybe relying on some of the bounces there too. So it's really about coming to a head here for the junglers, going to have a big impact, but also the two carries going in mid and ADC respectively.
Baron's up on the map. We're still not far from even. We're still in this slow old game. For anyone that doesn't know, by the way, while we've got a minute, that I don't think much is going to be happening right now, I'll quickly run over the conditions for Ultra Prime for them to make it to playoffs, or at least to make it into the night series.
They got your notepad out, all right? Listen
So,
to Munch.
If they lose, they're just eliminated. Also, tomorrow, WE versus IG is one of our final series. If WE loses to IG tomorrow, Ultra Prime are eliminated. They can't beat out IG on game difference if IG wins that series. Are we actually going to have a fight as soon as I've got something to talk about? The conditions for them to survive for the time being is if they can beat EDG 2-0 and WE beat IG with any score, then Ultra Prime will qualify. And if they beat EDG 2-1 today and IG beats, and WE beat IG 2-0, then Ultra Prime will qualify. There we go. We've run through it all. QingTian
got it.
Caught out in the bottom side, and Ultra Prime just see that as a go sign. QingTian gonna buy as much time as he can while the rest of the team run at the Baron. TP now to the top side as Leave wants to try and stop this in its tracks. 3K on the Baron. Ultra Prime, they look like they want to commit to this one, but the smite's not there, and Cryin gets the Baron. It's a kill onto Hacker, and it's a disaster for Ultra Prime.
How dare you try to take the treats out of the mouth of a corgi? Cryin, he's at 0-0-0, but he might have just had most of the impactful play of the game so far. As the Baron taken by EDG, they're also going to get another Mountain Dragon, a tier 2 in mid lane, and they have just blown open this lead. Wink's even going to find a little engage on the Yuekai, who doesn't have a lot of mana, but the Baron buff is up here, and they can continue pushing.
Ah, what a way to go for Ultra Prime, because I feel like that's such a huge gold swing in favor of EDG. That it's such a difficult position now to come back from. They're going to lose so much control of the map after these resets. 2 minutes to that Baron buff to work with. Cryin is absolutely monstrous on 3 items right now. I mean, he stole the Drake with a big one. And I think Hacker died just before the Baron went down, so he couldn't smite.
See the lockdown there, yeah. It just goes down. Oh, man. Picture perfect. And also on top of that, Hacker just has to kind of watch as it goes down. Look at the Smaz. He knows they just got away with a devious one.
Good to see Clearlove grinning away off the back of a play like that. And Ultra Prime, they're going to be sweating backstage right now because, again, they would love to win this one 2-0. The worse this series go, the less their fates are in their own hands. To be honest, the fates are already not really in their own hands anyway.
Yeah.
But
it's even more out of their hands. It's in like a second other person's hands.
yeah.
I don't know how you go further into that.
In some
one,
ways,
but
it is in their hands in that if they win this series, they keep it alive. If they lose this series, they are just out of the running. So it's in their hands to some extent. Solokill just gets a huge trade on to Yuekai. True shot barrage.
Oh!
Flashed away from at the last possible second there by Yuekai. Yuekai having a rough game for himself on the Tristana.
Where are these flashes of brilliance coming from our teams? I mean, EDG are on a little bit of a run here. Obviously, this is their last series, but I think the fact that we're seeing some really big step ups from some teams that have been struggling in these last couple days is the LPL.
With EDG, it brings up the question to me, like, how much was this a mental thing? Was this just the pressure now that they're out of the running suddenly? They can find these fights, although, I say that, Wink has gone down, but it'll be 2 inhibs anyway. So I think EDG will be happy. Sacrificing a Nautilus for 2 inhibs. Take that trade any day of the week.
And it does bring up that question for EDG, because even with all the roster stuff going wild and some of the things coming over from spring, and it's hard to have been a consistent fan from this of this team. But I think when you see moments like this, you do ask that question: was it mentality? Was it just some kind of approach behind the scenes? I think we get to see when they are strong, when they have that decisive pressure. They have some veterans in the right positions to be shot callers in Wink and Jiejie. So really love to see them utilizing this as well and playing off some of the strengths they built for themselves early on in this game. But look at this.
Doggo got a cash in off the back of that. He's still only 2.5 items and his top lane is dead, so I don't know how much it's really going to influence the game.
Take it to the bank and invest it, because it's not going to last long.
I think he's not spent the gold just yet because he's out of mana. I assume he's going to head back now. Quickly try and pick up a third, maybe even a 4th item, honestly, if he's not recalled. Look, he's actually ahead 2,000 in gold. Would just be rapid fire cannon picked up. Okay, there we go. Noon Quiver as well.
Wow.
So he was sitting on like 3,000 gold basically. I don't know if that's really going to be enough for Ultra Prime. They need some kind of miracle to win the next fight.
So that's the difference between these ADCs chosen by either side. We have seen what Corki and Ezreal can do, and they're putting the siege on thick here in the top side. They want to end this game, Munch.
Well, EDG, they played a pretty slow and steady game, and it feels like it's worked beautifully for them. Playing at max range. Cryin, way more than 10 CS per minute, by the way. He has been farming up a storm. Look at that, 299 at the 26-minute mark. He has been all over the map. He's been grabbing those towers in the side lane. He's been sweeping up those waves. He's almost got a flame horizon in the mid lane. He's only 30 CS away from getting 100 ahead of Yuekai. This has been an insane game from Cryin, and I think much needed confident game to round out what's really not been a good split for him.
And getting a step up, you can see from Cryin with the track record he has, and especially with his time on RNGs, is really nice. And I think leaning to some of that veterancy is always really good. Again, he was sitting at 0-0-0, but maybe had the most impactful play with that Baron take. Now is going to be on 4 items on the Corki, and all inhibs down for Ultra Prime. There is a dragon coming up if EDG want to lay on the hurt here, but it looks like the push in mid lane is also going to be initiated.
Yeah, I wonder if they do go for this Drake. I mean, they've got 3 inhibs. You probably can just end the game, but it seems like EDG are taking absolutely no risks in this one. It might even be
Wink maybe a little bit of risk.
Well, you say that, Like, how can Ultra Prime even punish him? They know Yuekai's in base. They know that QingTian's bot. Like, even if Doggo's there, Wing's pretty tanky at this point. I feel like he's fine to just walk into the enemy jungle pretty much with impunity.
As we see him do right in front of our very eyes, it is to the Baron, and this could be the nail in the coffin for Ultra Prime in this game, number 1. They wanted a clean one.
I mean,
they will still be able to take it out here, but it's unfortunate that now the siege is going to be even harder.
I'm a little disappointed in Ultra Prime that they've not just tried to throw something at EDG here at some point, because like, you're not going to defend 3 waves of double supers with Baron. It's just, this is totally indefensible. I feel like you've waited too long for your miracle fight. They needed to just fight at some point. Hacker still a ways away from that death cap.
I'm a little worried for Hacker's damage count after this one. We might need to black that one off the screen, but here we go.
Cryin comes down. Might be the first one I remember seeing of the game. His Wing is chunked. He's burning. The shield comes through at the last second.
Doesn't matter.
Look at that. It's an absolute wash. Clean ace for EDG. And Ultra Prime left spinning at the end of game number 1. That wasn't even close.
They're not going to stop spinning until we get into that game number 2. You can see all of them getting up at the same time, get back, regroup, because EDG just handled them in that one.
Yeah, I mean, call them Garen at that point, because they are dizzy with what just happened to them. EDG kind of just walked it home, and Ultra Prime sort of watched it happen to them. And that was a bit of a rough one. And especially for Ultra Prime, when, like, you won early on in the lanes. You won both side lanes. How did it go this wrong?
I'm so flabbergasted of the last 3 series. Game 1s have just been the underdog performing like they should have been the favorites the whole time. And I think EDG here, they maybe not the underdogs necessarily in this one, but definitely handling themselves well.
Cryin, top of the damage numbers, no surprises there with the performance he had. I think undoubted MVP coming out for EDG. 22,000 damage, not too shabby. 10,000 above anyone else almost. I guess 8,000 above Leave. But phenomenal stuff, and just sweeping up all those towers all game long. Slow and steady wins the race, I guess. EDG very happy with that.
And, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I could expect a very similar style for EDG to pull out. Honestly, you can't have a game where Hacker doesn't do anything for Ultra Prime. He has to be getting something. Cryin coming out. I mean, the guy was 0-0-0 for the longest time, but the fact that he got that Baron and just started the snowball for EDG, really nice stuff from a long-time vet of the LPL.
And I feel like this is redemption for Cryin at the end of a very rough year for him. Like, that's his first MVP of the split, and rightly so, because honestly, his laning phases have been pretty terrible across this split, but today he steps up, found an individual lead in his lane, found leads in the side lanes off the back of that as well. Really, really nice stuff coming out from Cryin, coming out from EDG. They're now 1-0 up in the series. And Ultra Prime, remember, if they lose this series, they are out of the running for playoffs. They need to come back. We're going to jump into a break, and then we'll head into game number 2 and see if Ultra Prime can dig deep.